Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most powerful yet kind of invisible forces in the global economy. We're talking about a massive trillion-dollar pile of cash that's just sitting there, ready to reshape entire industries. You ready for this?
So, I've got a question for you. What is the biggest pile of investment cash you've probably never even heard of? Now, it's not venture capital, and it's not the stock market. Nope, it's something else entirely. A huge reserve of capital, just waiting on the sidelines to be deployed.
Okay, but before we can really get our heads around the sheer scale of this thing, we've got to speak the language. You know, the world of private equity, it has its own lingo, a couple of key terms they use to measure their financial muscle. So let's break them down.
First up, you're going to hear the term AUM, which stands for Assets Under Management. The easiest way to think about this is it's a private equity firm's total net worth. It's everything they own, all the companies, all the investments, plus whatever cash they have on hand. It's really the big picture number.
Now this is the key to the whole story. Dry powder. This is what the industry calls its war chest. It's committed cash from investors that hasn't been spent yet. It's basically the money they have ready to go shopping for new deals. And honestly, it's the number that really tells us what they might be planning to do next.
All right, so now that we've got those terms in our back pocket, let's get to the first big reveal. We're going to start with the undisputed heavyweight in this space, the United States.
And here it is. The total assets under management for the private equity industry in the U.S. is a staggering $3.1 trillion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is an absolutely immense amount of value tied up in companies and assets all across the country.
But hey, remember our key term, the dry powder? Well, of that bigger number, this is the amount of cash that's uninvested. $1 trillion. This is that war chest we were talking about, just sitting there, ready to be deployed into the American economy. Wild.
Okay, so that's the picture in America. But to really get the global scale, we need to hop across the Atlantic. I mean, how does the European market compare? Is it even playing in the same league? Well, over in Europe, the total assets under management clock in at about 1.15 trillion euros. Now, it's a different currency, obviously, but that is still a massive, massive figure. It just goes to show this is very much a global phenomenon. And check this out. Here's Europe's dry powder. According to the source material, firms over there are sitting on a record 414 billion euros. That's a totally unprecedented amount of capital just ready to fuel deals all across the continent.
So let's actually put those two war chests side by side. You can see the relative scale right here. On the left, you've got the US with its $1 trillion pile of uninvested capital. And on the right, Europe with its 414 billion euro fund. And, while the US is clearly bigger, both of these represent these enormous pools of money that are all looking for a home.
Okay, we've just looked at some truly mind-boggling numbers. But all of this really just brings us to the most important question of all. So what? I mean, why does any of this actually matter? What is the real-world impact of all this cash just sitting there?
Well, here's the crucial point. These trillions of dollars and euros aren't just sitting in a bank account gathering dust. No way. This capital creates this intense, relentless pressure on these firms to find deals, to buy companies, and to put that money to work. Seriously, think of it like a giant tide of money that has to flow somewhere. And that flow? That's what drives mergers and acquisitions, what takes companies from public to private and causes major shifts in the whole corporate landscape.
And, this quote from our source material really just nails it. The sheer scale isn't just a fun fact. It points directly to the immense influence this industry has on both the American and European economies. That influence means these firms aren't just passive investors. They're active owners, shaping the strategies of the companies they buy, which in turn affects the businesses we work for, the stores we shop at, and even the products we use every single day.
Which really just brings us to our final thought here. When you have this much money, trillions of dollars, all actively looking for a place to get invested, it begs a really, really big question. What industries, what companies, what parts of our world are going to be bought next?